G-SHOCKS started in 1981 with a team known as Project Team Tough, led by Casio engineer Kikuo. Well, that's how I pronounce it. The team had a 3-criteria goal called the Triple 10, which involved a 10-meter drop test, 10 atmospheres of water pressure, and have a 10-year battery life. 200 prototypes were tested before the G-SHOCK was ready to be sold to the public. The DW-5000 was the first G-SHOCK to be released in 1983 using the module 240, but it was rated to 200 meters. Hold on. Wait, is this going to be all about the history of G-SHOCKS? Because this has already been covered by Watch Geek. He's got a few videos that are brilliantly presented, showing all you need to know about the early Gs. And of course, the links are found below in the description. So, unless you can provide something different, Watch Up 69, I suggest you stop right there. Okay, let's start again. Here is my early G-SHOCK collection. So the first one out of the hat is the DW-5000. I have been fortunate enough and managed to find some of the early ones. Now I haven't got them all because, for an example, there is one that's called the WW-5100, and these are extremely rare, and these have a low temperature LCD display, but I've decided to pick on the ones that I actually prefer instead of actually going for all the collection, because I'm not going to keep them all. I will be flipping some, but this one is definitely a keeper. For me, this is my holy grail of G-SHOCKS. Now, if you're in the market of looking for one of these, I have to let you know that there are some out there that actually word it so that you believe that it's one of the early ones, and they can fool you. So I would use this video as reference so you know exactly what to look for. Now, the only thing that isn't original on this G-SHOCK is the bezel, but it is a damn fine good replica of it. The rest of the watch is all original, and I will go through it all and show you the little details that I have discovered along the way so you know exactly what to look for. Now, on the display, it is quite distinctive with the brick background. What's the saying? Built like a brick house? I guess it was from that, because they were so strong. Quite funnily, when it did come out, it was considered to be quite ugly and square looking, very sort of plasticky and rubbery, should I say. Maybe possibly cheap looking. So I have to say that the early version of the G-SHOCK wasn't a big success as it should have been. But anyway, I shall come back later and explain some of the other watches or the other models from G-SHOCK that started to kick and put G-SHOCK where it is today. So let's have some really good look at the display. Take a note that the G-SHOCK here, the G-SHOCK resist, is all in gold. There's lithium. You have the descriptions of the buttons. It has water resist in 200 meters in blue. So take a note here. It's written Japan alarm chronograph. Now the module is very, very important because this is the early 240 module, whereas the date here, the day, is always set to the far left. Whereas on the next version or the next module, the day was further to this box here, which I will go through you and explain. Now the module is very, very basic, and I have covered this previously in another video with regards to a DW-5400. So going through the mode down the bottom here, you have stopwatch, you have a timer, you have one alarm, and it's back to home screen. You have the option to select for PM and 24-hour format, and the light button is very weak indeed, but it does work, and it's one of those lights where you just keep your finger down and it will remain lit. The adjust is quite reset into the case, so it's just one press and it starts to flash. So you just have the seconds, the hours, and you have separate minutes, so you can change these. I must add that you cannot fast forward on this module, so if you hold your finger down it won't. It can only go one at a time, or one digit at a time. Then you have the month, the day, and the Friday as well. You can change the day of the week, and that is all the options you get. So pressing adjust will cancel that. There is no beep either. This is just a standard, I think it's up to a 12-hour stopwatch. It does have a split. Use the backlight and it comes up with a lap up here. Note that it's still flashing here, so you can have 2 lap times. So there's your first lap time, pressing the light button gives you your second lap time. Pressing the second time will reset it. Then pressing mode goes straight to timer, and this is just a standard 12, I think it's a 12 hour. Let's have a quick little look. Go back up. No, you can only go forward. So there is something there. So we go 12, so it's 12. So it would be 11 hours and 59 minutes. And that's it, because normally on G-Shocks, when it's set at 0, if you press start, it will go straight from a 24 hours. And then to the alarm, just pressing the adjust, you get the hours, and again you can change the minutes, alternative there. So it's just a daily alarm, and just the one of them. So pressing that, and when you hit the adjust, it comes up automatically. It turns the alarm on for you. You can turn the alarm on and off using the light button, and while you're in the alarm, by pressing button D here, you can switch on the hourly signal, which is just filled in between. So if I turn off the alarm, you would see the hourly signal icon, and pressing button D turns it off. That is all you get, and there is no test screen on this. I've tried, and the alarm, incidentally, is underneath the actual crystal, so you do get quite a good tone from this, whereas on the later versions they put them on the back. Not sure why. The reason was maybe because they wanted the LCD to be closer to the actual crystal, so it does have a little bit of depth on there. I'll say this is in really good condition. Remember, this is 1983, so that is all original there. So let's have a look at the strap. I have to say it has some of this sort of flaking on the inside, but still there's no cracks, and that's exactly what to look for. I want you to pay attention to these numbers here, because I have bought some aftermarket straps and I will show you the difference on them. Should have Japan on the buckle. That's the style of buckle. That would have been a polished buckle. I've decided to keep this all original and not do anything about it. There's the keeper, and the screws that retain the bezel are crossheads, and of course we have the screw down case back with a bit of fluff on it. So that's what to look for if you're looking. It has Japan stainless steel. It is a polished back case. Okay, looking on the back case, the lugs are all metal, so it's all metal case underneath there. I will take one apart probably a DW-5700 I think, and we'll just have a look and see what the design looks like underneath, and I shall remove the case back and show you what's inside, because they're all very similar. Along the way, I thought I would do some size comparisons against the other models as well, so sort of just keeps it a little bit more interesting. And this one here is the GWM-5600. This is the Tough Solar with multi-band 6. And look at that. Case back is a lot different with the four screws, should I say. And the offset on the buttons are different as well. Let's get those lined up. You can see they are much wider. Also, they're using Phillip head screws, but they've sort of replicated the design there. So what about we take some measurements and see what these two weigh up against each other. Now that would be interesting. Case width on the DW-5000 is 42.43. On the newer version it is 43.16. Thickness on the old one is 12.95. New one is 13.19. Lug to lug on the first one is 46.88. The new one is 45.30. So the DW-5000 weighs 65 grams and the newer version is 48 grams. Well, there's a difference. So back in 1983, would you be impressed? Now, if you go back in time and then took this Tough Solar version, my word, what would they be thinking then? Anyway, I think they've done a really good job on this one here to sort of replicate the DW-5000. I like the details they have included and sort of kept it, even though it's updated. The shock resist logo is all in gold and in the same place. Only difference is the brickwork isn't on this one here. This is replaced with a solar panel, but kept Casio at the top there. They've put multi-band 6 up there. This has the lithium and the alarm icon. This is pretty much sort of the same. Still got the wording for each button. They got the nice red surround going around there. Even on the silver part there on the inside. Water resist in 200 meters is same, is also in blue. Some additional information there, of course, for the solar powered. Tough Solar there. They've got alarm chronograph, and G-Shock is still there, and protection at the top. So I think they've done a really good job. And note that the day there is far to the left, and this one they've brought it back over to the more central there. Anyway, let's move on and hit the next one that I've purchased. The next one is the DW-5200, and this one was the one that really did kickstart the G-Shock trend, because they advertised two hockey players taking a slap shot to show the toughness of this watch. And of course, from that advert, firemen, police officers, ambulance rescue teams, and even skateboarders from the West Coast decided to jump on the G-Shock wagon because of the
one tough watch to beat.
So side by side next to the DW-5000, they are identical in every way. The only difference is that on the back case this is written the DW-5200, and the crystal is different as well with the marking. So let's have a little bit of a detailed look, just in case you're in the market, so you know exactly what to look for. First off, I have to say that the bezel is a replacement but that was the only thing that has been replaced. The crystal does have some minor marks. Now this is not bad because this is 1984. The module is still the same. Note that the Friday is on the far left side. Casio up the top there, we have water 200 meter resistant, and there is a dark green racing stripe going through there with two very fine stripes either side of that, and this is also repeated at the bottom, so you need to look out for that. The rest of the display is in black. Well, the shock resist logo is a little bit bigger than on the first one, and it's more centralized, but it's also in gold. Has lithium there. You have some information there regarding this button here. Alarm, they've changed it from chronograph to chrono, and note they have these yellow markings here, or the yellow dots. Also on the very fine edge of the display there is a silver lining. Looking on the side there, it's still using crosshead screws to retain the bezel. There is some cracking here in two parts, but I've decided to keep it all original and I won't risk wearing it. So on the case back, it would have been highly polished. There's the module of 240, and it's written Japan H. Now I've done a little bit of research inquiring about what this letter means, and this is basically the factory it was made, because there is several factories where they make the G-Shocks, and I like the old style G-Shock resistant there, and there is some numbers. So just if you're in the market of looking, you know exactly where to look. You will probably find that the bezels on these have all been replaced. It's because of the oils they used back in the day. They've all dried out and they just disintegrate. It's just how they are. I'm not sure, even if you kept it in a nice sealed box, whether they would still disintegrate. There's a company in Brazil where I bought this bezel from. I think they trade on eBay, and I find their bezels to be very, very good indeed. Very sort of robust. They don't split when you put them on. They're not hard. They just have that perfect sort of Casio quality about it, should I say. So there is the DW-5200. So what did I get next? Is the DW-5400. Now I've already done a sweet review on this one, but in that one I had a square bezel. I've now got the round one, which is more suited to this one, and because this one had the gold buttons, it actually matches on the bezel. Now this is aftermarket and very, very difficult to find. Now I did find a guy selling them on the G-Shock Collectors Worldwide Facebook group, and I paid by PayPal. I did friends and family, and I bought several, and I will show you the others I bought. Now these aren't of the same quality as the ones from Brazil. These were a bit more different in sort of feel and texture, but hey, it does cover the space and it looks a lot better having it sort of naked. So even for a display piece, or possibly you could just wear this, it's okay, but don't take any of this into account, protection, because it possibly won't be like what the Casios originally offered, but that is giving you an idea. I have two screws on the case there which hold the bezel. They have broken off. Now the original screws, they're gold and they are crossheads again. A little tip if you're wanting to take these out and you fear that they could break, I would squirt a lot of WD-40 in there, so really get all that penetrated with all that grease and oil, and then be very, very fine with the screwdriver as you undo it. Maybe need to leave it to soak for several hours, because on this one here, which I have not broken, I bought it like this, it's a shame because it will require some fine machinery to get those drilled out. And then it's a matter of replacing the screws, and these screws are extremely hard to find, especially the gold version. So the module is still using the 240. See, the date is on the far left. Again, I keep repeating myself, but this is very important when you're looking for one, because sometimes the modules get changed and it can fool you very quickly. So on the display, the shock resist has now added a little bit of red, still carrying the lithium. They've gone to alarm chronograph, and it has Japan on the front there. Now the strap on this one, I believe it's all original. There is that number or the code format. It's still the same on the other two, and this is important that the buckle also has Japan on there. Now looking on the case back, again it's all polished, and it has the module 240, and this one is Japan H. Now I looked on the DW-5000 and that has Japan B, so it's all very interesting. I'm not sure how many factories they have. That is what you need to look for. The strap is in okay condition, there's no signs of any splits. Because of the square look, it probably wasn't for everyone's taste, and remember this is now 1985 when this DW-5400 came out, so I guess they went for the more round shape, so it sort of maybe hits a little market of those round users, possibly. Okay, just a observation of mine. Remember, this one here was 1983, this one was 1985. Now, looking at the design on the display, very more particular, I must say that this was very well thought out, and it has a nice sort of modern appeal to it, whereas on this one it seems like they've gone backwards. It actually looks older with this. It's very, very sort of basic, and whereas this one on the DW-5000 has a lot more detail, especially with the brick design, and then you have the nice red, you've got the gold, you've got the white, you've got a little bit of silver, you've got a nice splash of blue, whereas this one, they've just put a bit of splash of red on the shock resist on there, and apart from the gold and a little bit of silver, it doesn't really seem to have that much of an effort. So it's not my most desired G-Shock. I probably will be flipping this one once I've got the screws repaired, and it just, I'm not sure. For me, I'm more into the square style. It's more sort of pleasing on my eye. I still like this, but the round is more analog, but that's just my opinion. 1987. The DW-5600 was released, and I have to say right from the start that the 5600 series from G-Shock is still the longest current running line of G-Shocks. Now they really did suss and really did have the perfect design, and I have to agree, I am an absolute sucker for this design. It's so practical, it is just the perfect G-Shock. It really has to be the perfect all-round G-Shock. Now the module on this has now changed, and you note the Friday is now more over to the box here. It's now shifted over to the right of that, And there is the difference. It's only a fraction, but there. And that's how you could easily get caught out, whereas this module could be in this case here. The 24-hour is almost in the same position, but it has this REM which is permanently on the display, whereas this one doesn't. So just some points to look for when looking for either, really. Out of all the vintage square G-Shocks, I have to say that I actually am more taken in with this one. I'm not sure why, because it's all it is to do with the display here. Forget the module. I think it's maybe to do with this grey band. Maybe it's because that nice little bit of red in the shock resist, and with the blue and the grey, then you have the silver. You've got the little yellow dots there on the corners. I'm not sure, but it's just something that's very, very pleasing on the eye. The bezel and the strap has all been replaced. So on the new strap you have this here. On the original it has that. So maybe that is something you need to look for. Newer one feels a lot stiffer, whereas the old one, you can feel those layers have been worn off. It's much more flexible over the newer one. And on the buckle it's written China, good old China, and it is all brushed. It's not a polished one. Maybe you can get a polished one. Maybe I will look, maybe next time I'm at a watch fair, and swap that out and get a Japan one. I know it's a little bit OCD, but hey, little things do please little minds, I guess. The case back is all polished, and the module is a 691, and it's made in the Japan H factory. So that is what you sort of need to look for. Screw down case back, and the actual body, again, it's all cast metal again. It has the same weight and proportions as the other two I showed you, the two early ones. The bezel screws have now changed to crossheads, and the module gets a test screen. Just gets the one screen that just shows everything that's shown on through the digits, and then you just press. Doesn't matter which button you press, it just takes you back to the home tile. This button here with just a short press does nothing in home screen, but if you were to do a long press you get this flashing icon here. See it just catching the light. Basically that's just all it does, and because it's next to REM, this is abbreviation for remember. So when you look at your watch, just having that little flashing icon will probably just be enough to jolt your memory. So it's just a matter of a long press to take it off. I do need to replace the battery on this, because when I do press the button and or set the alarm or even press the light, it goes very faint. So I've got one on order. So going through the adjust, it's just one press. It's adjusting the seconds, just the hours. Now the minutes are combined, and you can now long press on the buttons and it will zap through. You now have the year. Now this is interesting. If I go through, it goes up to 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 2029, and it starts from 1985. So I'll just take that back up to the 19. So just to show you the month, the day, and then it's back to the seconds. Press and adjust just takes you back out. Now this does beep when you go through the modes. So you have alarm, you have a dual time, you have the timer, stopwatch, and then you're back to the home screen. Now if you play around with any of the modes and when you finish and you press the mode button, it will skip and take you straight back to the home time. So if I was just say there and I wanted to adjust that, press the adjust button. Also it has a little icon there, comes up, so it's ready to set. I shall come quickly back to the alarm, and then when you press the mode, it goes straight back. So I kind of like that feature, it's kind of cool. So we'll go back in, and here you can adjust the hours, adjust the minutes. You can also set the alarm, whether you want it to go daily alarm, whether you want it to go once every day on a particular month, if you want it to go once every month on a particular day, or if you want a specific date, say your birthday, you can do this using the box up here, and here you can adjust the day. So that's just basically the month, and then just pressing adjust takes you out of that. Pressing the light button will swap the alarm icon with the hourly signal. Pressing again, you have both, and then pressing the third time takes both away. So I just go straight back into the home screen. So after that you have your dual time, and here there isn't anything you can do. That just does the light. You can just adjust it, and you can adjust the minutes as well. Up here it's showing your home time, and that is it. Very sort of basic. Let's go to the next one, and you got your timer. Now it's a 24-hour timer. You have a 24-hour stopwatch, and the hours are in this box now. And then back to home time. That's it. That is the module on this one here. Did they upgrade it good enough? I think they did. I think they did a really good job of that. And the beeps are just a bit of entertainment. You can't turn the beeps off. And I must say, the alarm, if I press button D and get a little test alarm, it is quite loud. And again, the ceramic plates for the alarm is under the screen there, under the crystal. So what did I get next? In 1990, Casio released the DW-5000, and it's this one you need to thank, because this put G-Shock well and truly on the map. It was so popular in America with the kids that Japan even followed trend and also made it a success back home. There is good reason why. It's because of the module. This module is an absolute joy to use, and it has some really cool quirks which I will demonstrate. Just the one negative side of it, doesn't have a backlight, but hey, daytime G-Shock is all the fashion. So looking a little bit closer at the design, the larger part of the display, that is in yellow. Then the subdial on the left side and the right side are on a tint of green, and then the center one is in gold. Now the bezel and the strap is all original, but I'm not sure if this bezel went with this module. So maybe someone watching and knows more about it could just comment and say whether it was the original bezel with this module. That would be greatly appreciated. But till then, I do like how it sort of all just matches with the print or the color, and with the red protection and the red G-Shock. It just makes it a really fun looking watch, and I really do like the tint on the display there. Now just looking on the side, it's got some screws to hold in the bezel. They're Phillips screws, and on the case back it's using the 4 screws. It's module 914, and this is made in or assembled in Malaysia. So maybe it was all made in Japan but just assembled in Malaysia. So if you're in the market, there's some information you need to look for on the strap, because these straps do end up being replaced sometimes, and we have Japan on the buckle, and there's a bit more of a detailed look of the back case. And Malaysia factory T, just out of curiosity there, and shock resist is still done in the old style. Yes, I have two of them, and one is with the blue and the other is with the sort of yellow, gold and green. Now, I just want to point this out. I did buy this one without the bezel, and the strap needed replacing, so I've completely changed the strap for a new version. So you can see that code there on the inside of the strap is completely different what you saw on the original. And also note it has light up here, and it goes further because the buttons are actually slightly in a different position. So when I put the new bezel, the case was brushing on the buttons there, so when I was pushing it would get stuck, so I've had to sort of modify them a little bit and make them wider. But getting the original bezel is proving a hard task, so if you're in the market and you're buying one without a bezel, just might have to rely on buying the newer version and just dealing that the light is actually split and reset. Oh, this module is really cool. Very excited about doing this. Okay, so let's go through and show you what is happening. The main time is there and it's all in 24 hours. It's showing the month and day. Now in this sub-dial here, this is actually the analog hands for the time, and this display here will show you all your modes. So you have the alarm, dual time, timer, stopwatch, and it will also tell you whether the alarm is on and the hourly signal is on. And this is counting the seconds, and it will fill up all that to 1 minute, and then it will start deleting them, and that would just continue while in home mode. Now if I push the bottom button here, the stop button, it will format the time to PM. That is really good to have, especially if you're at the airport and you want to know what your time is, because they're all in 24 hours. Maybe you can't calculate 24 hours, but with a press of a button it's all done for you. The top button here, the split reset, pushing that while in home mode will give you the full date. So it gives you the year, the month, day, and also what day it is, and it's Friday. Pressing again takes you back out. There is a test screen, so hopefully I can get this all on camera, and it is like so. There's quite a lot of very fine detail in this one here. There's also in this one as well, but this one particular has a sort of an outer ring here with some more things, and all this will come to life later. I shall explain. And there's your details. So when I press that button, it just takes you straight back out. There is no other option. So while you're in the home screen, pressing mode takes you to the alarm, the notification. So the 00 is the traditional hourly signal, and by pressing the stop you can go through them. So you have 1 alarm, 2 alarms, 3 alarms, 4 alarms, 5 alarms, so 5 alarms and an hourly signal. And note the sub-dial here is indicating that you're in alarm mode. And what I find really good is that if you press the split and reset, you can turn the hourly signal on, and it comes up in this part here, which will remain when it's in home time, but it also fills this up here, and I call this the pie chart, because when you turn on whatever alarm, it would tell you which segment the alarm's on. So I'll just give you a demonstration. Say So that's alarm 1. So if I was to turn that on, I will get an indication up here that the alarm's on, and also get one of the segments filled in. So if I skipped to alarm 3, and I hope you're following, it's alarm 2 would have been there. This is now alarm 3, so when I turn the alarm on, it now fills that cheese up. So when you come out into the home screen, and note that when you do play around with a particular mode, when you come out and you next time press mode, it will always take you back to the home screen. Sort of a nice little skip feature there. Now I've got the alarm turned on and the signal turned on, which is notifying me there. So if I press the mode and go in, I can start to see what exactly I've got on at a very quick glance. So this is just in the hourly signal time. I know that the signal is on, I know alarm 1's on, and I know alarm 3 is on. So when I advance, the signal goes out, and then you have alarm on, and you know you've got the little segment there. So if I press the splits reset, that takes the alarm off, that section's gone, and also the alarm section's gone. So now you know that alarm 3 is on. You can just turn that off, and then you lastly, you know, because you've got a really good indication here that you know the hourly signal is on, and yes, it is on. And then it's just like so, and I thought that was a very cool feature as well. You also get a test alarm here, and note these dials here, what animation they do. Very cool. So if I was to go to, say, alarm 4, so when I press, and a long press now, you will get this animation on when the alarm goes off. So take note of that. And if I press it again, it will go to the hourly signal test. And notice how the animation is now changed. Instead of turning around, it's doing that animation. That's very cool. As I've slipped on the button there. So I'm going back into the alarm. I'm just going to choose alarm 1 because I'm going to show you how it adjusts, because it's really good as well. So the adjust button up there, it's recessed, so it's just the one press. Now this is going to do the hours. Pressing mode skips to the minutes. That's all you get. But when I adjust the hour, I'm also adjusting the analog here. So that's on 2 o'clock, it goes to 3 o'clock, 4, 5, 6. How cool is that? And if I went to the minutes will also change as well. So if I went down to there, you can see it flashing. If I went down to 1/4 you can see the time there, the minute. It's very fine. You need some young eyes, but hey, it's there. And there is the alarm set. So if you had all the alarms adjusted, you can just go through and you don't need to read that. So if your eyes are more trained for analog, as human beings we absorb the analog side far quicker than digital, apparently. For me, it makes no difference. I am stupid both ways. Anyway, so that is the alarm set. So I need to turn that alarm off really, because I know that's alarm 1 because it's indicated there. And then back to the home screen. So now next mode will be the dual time. I know this because it's there. And again, you can use the start stop and change that from 24 hours to AM PM. And here you can adjust it, and you can change both hours and minutes to whatever tickles your fancy. Next is the timer, and let's go to timer. So I'm just following up here, and it's showing all the zeros. It's a 24-hour timer. If I just press start stop, it will go straight from the 24 hours. This is going berserk backwards. This is counting the 1/100th or 1/10 of a second should I say, which is quite unusual. And this one here is counting the seconds. And then on the outer ring, it's very, very fine. If I can get that in there, you can see there is an outer ring, and this is counting the minutes. So that will do a full hour each time, and that's very sort of kind of cool to see. And what's really, really good, so we'll just stop that, and it's split reset, it's all clearly indicated. Let's go to the just one quick press. So it's just the hours and minutes you can adjust. You can go up and down because you don't have a backlight. You can also do a long press and it will jump forward and go backwards. So I'm just going to set it to 1 minute because I want to show you the animation, the two subdials here, because it's actually written at time and sec. It's quite very easy to understand. So I'm just going to crack on with that, and here it's got the seconds in there. It's not going to have any of the minute markers on there because it's in the last sort of 45 seconds. When it goes off, you will have animation in here, but what's really good is that when you go to the home time, you also have the same animation, so you know that it is the timer going off, and the alarm does different and the hourly signal does it also different. So we're just going to skip that and show you what it does in home screen. And there is the timer. Look at the animation on that, how it comes out and then lights up these segments here, and then this one's just spinning around. That was so cool. Very impressed with that. I'm just going to go back into timer because I want to just show you all the little features it does, not so much on the hours but on the minutes. So when I advance the minutes, you'll see the minute marker on the outer edge increase. So if I went to say 15, try and get this in with the shadow, you can see that's flashing away there, look, 15. So if I just hold my finger on it, you can actually see it going up. Very cool indeed. So if I went to 45 like so, and then press adjust and then start, you'll have the inner part counting backwards the seconds, and then you have the minutes. So I think that gives you a really good overview of how long you have got left, or how late you're going to be, or early, I don't know, but to calculate it over a digital time, I think this is more the analog side, which you can really take in quicker, and I like that a lot. And that's going berserk as well. That's really good. So let's stop that, reset that, because I don't want it to go off during the tutorial. Back into the home screen, the last mode is the chronograph. Now we stop there, and this is now going forwards. You've got 1/100th of a second, that's counting the seconds. That'll do minutes, that'll do the hours, up to 24 hours. And here this is counting the seconds, and then it will count the minutes on the outside, so up to a full hour each time. Pressing the split reset, you will get split come up here. The icon here will flash, and I like that still counts, and this as well. So this is your second run time, so that's your first time of 24. And say if I stopped that right about there, that's going to be about 46. So if I press reset, yeah, 45 wasn't bad. So it gives you a really good idea of what's happening on the second time. And then just press reset, cancels that. So for those who actually own one of the original DW-5900s, did you know that if you push the mode button for a few seconds, keeping it hold in, it will start this animation. not only on the subdials, it would also flip the date with the time, and it goes through all the different motions that are related to the timer, the hourly signal, and the alarm. I like that one. That's my favourite one. Anyway, any button exits. Okay, with the DW-5000 next to the 5900, you can see that G-Shock are starting to make their watches a little bit more bigger. And talking of size, I've got the next one. Moving on, it is now 1994 and Casio released the DW-5300, which is kind of odd because you would have thought that the 5300 should have been released in the 80s, and it is using the same module. Well, it looks the same and it performs the same, apart from they call this one the 901, whereas on this one it is the 691, but they do identically the same. Even has a test screen, and there you can see all the digits. So I'll just press any button, just takes that off. Now I did buy this without the bezel, and the bezels are extremely hard to find, and I contacted the company in Brazil and they're currently not producing any more at the moment. So I found the guy from the member from the Facebook group from Casio, the G-Shock collectors worldwide, and he supplied me with the bezel. Now it's not bad, it's working, it looks sort of like the original. It has a sort of a sheen to it as well, and but hey, when there isn't anything else, this is better than nothing. The print is nice and clear, and what more can you ask for? It is sitting on the original strap, so let's just take this off, because if you're in the market, you want it all original, this is what you need to look for. So on the keeper it's written Japan, and there is a little bit of information, so you have something to compare either side. And let's have a little look at the back case. There you can see it says DW-5300, module is 901, and this is assembled in Korea, so it's possibly all Japanese parts and they just get the Koreans to assemble them. Maybe it's a little bit cheaper, and it's at the Korean factory C, which is interesting. And there it's a brushed sort of finish on the back case and held in with the 4 screws. Looking at the design, they've sort of copied a few of the ideas from the original DW-5000, and I think they've done an okay job of it. I must say it does have a sort of a toyish look about it, especially with the print here. It's sort of with dots, it's neither sort of carbon fiber or with that brick pattern. It's sort of a more of a sort of a cartoony effect, but I still like it. I like that it has that little burst of blue on the water resistant 200 meters. I do like the little red arrow there on the shock resist, and all the button information is on each corner, and it's slightly angled, and here it's not square, it's got the angle there, so it's sort of a bit like an octagon. Now I've also got the blue version or the silver version. I'm not sure which one I take in the most. I'll probably just because my eyes pick up on the 200 meter water resistant the most, so I'm looking that as more as the blue and this one as the red. So there is the different variations, and again the bezel came from the same member, and it's held in with Phillips heads screws, keeping that all together. And the case or the main body of the watch is in resin, it's no longer in metal. Again, it still has all that same brush back case with the old style of shock resistant, and that is also made in the Korean factory C. I've already gone through the modules on these, but so you know what to expect. But let's have a look at a little bit of a size comparison next to the original a bit more. So you can see they've beefed it up a little bit and made it a little bit more thicker. The lug to lug is longer. And just to set the record straight, this wasn't the Mission Impossible watch. He never used a G-Shock, it was another one. And you will find all this information when you watch Watch Geek's video all about the history of the early G-Shocks. He will explain it in more detail. That is the DW-5300. So here are all the squares together from the early ones, the 5000, the 5200 and the 5600. So you can really see the differences on those. And I must say, out of all of them, I really do like the 5600. I did mention that before. And this one, the 5200, is a special one. It is quite hard to find. But out of all of them, the 5600 seems to be the more harder to find. I seem to find more of the 5000s, but I don't find them with the cases, and sometimes they have missing screws, and the display or the crystal is in very bad condition. So I'm very lucky to get an example like this one. So there's the 5000, there's the 5600 with the tough solar, and then you have the Bluetooth version. Wow, that is just incredible to have all three in the hand. Let's have a look at 1983 compared to 2019, and I have to say they really did keep everything very compact. I mean, look, it is identical almost. The buttons are a little bit bigger and more spaced out, but the amount of tech that's in that circuitry board compared to that one just shows you how far they've gone forward. But I've got to say, the 5000 is still a usable G-Shock, and it still has all those functions that you need on a daily basis. And with the Bluetooth, it just makes it a bit more luxury. And the backlight is fade in and fade out, whereas on this one it's just a bulb. I find that really entertaining. Anyway, let's open up one of the vintage G-Shocks and sort of show you what's inside and what's under the bezel, so you can really get to see the case design. So I have this oddity here. Now this is the DW-5700, and it's sitting on a brushed case back, and this is very original, very normal, so it can get confusing, whereas if you're looking for a polished case back, you probably see the brushed version and think maybe it's not original, but it is. I've done the research and it is all tying up. So what I thought, I'll take off the bezel, show you what's underneath, and then remove that case back, and we'll have a look at all the inside with the battery. I'm not going to completely remove the whole module, but it just gives you an idea of how these were made back in the 80s. This is what the bezel screws look like, and these are very hard to find. Now, I did talk to someone who was on eBay selling screws like these, but they weren't exact. So we just had a little conversation, and he said that he removed them from vintage toys, and that's quite interesting. You can see that these have a little bit of that thread lock, and then this thread lock, it dries out, it gets stuck in the thread, and of course when you undo them, that's when you're going to break them because you're putting a lot of force. So always soak them plenty with plenty of WD so that they will come out. So it's nice to have all 4 in the hand, and also it's nice that they go back into the case very easily. So once all 4 screws have been removed, I always start from the adjustment button. It's just because it doesn't stick out as much. Just get a little bit of a nail under there and then it pops off, and then the next button it's easier, and once you're there it's just a matter of lifting up and sliding away. And this bezel is one from the Brazilian company, and they are very well made. There's no signs of that splitting. It's very durable. It's very matched to the genuine CASIO, I would say. So looking at the case design, it is very crude, isn't it? It's like cast made. It's not machined, or maybe it's finished off being machined, but I would say the bulk of it is cast. Some do have a finished sort of surface on them with a polish finish on them. This one is sort of just brushed, or possibly just put on a wheel just to take off the rough burrs or whatever you would call it, and that is what it looks like. So let's have a go in the back case and see what's hiding behind there. The perfect tool for this job is the silicone ball. So a nice firm push. I put my thumb against the top lug there and twist, and it comes off nice and easy. It should do, because I did a recent battery replacement on this. So there's a nice amount of thread on there. You can really see the sunburst on the back case there, and as I said, it is original. Some do have the polished case, so it's just another thing to look for, because you might see this and think, maybe it's a replica or been copied. So there's all the information on the back, and inside it has a lucky number 13, which is my lucky number. There's quite a bit of weight on that. So let's have a look actually inside. So what's my first sort of impressions? Well, the first one is this rubber stinks. It really smells like old bicycle inner tube. That's all I can sort of say what it smells like. It doesn't feel dry, crumbly. It feels good, and it's got a sort of a white coating of some kind of powder. Maybe that's something to keep it preserved, but hey, still in really good condition. So I take it that's part of the shock resistance. And now looking inside, you can see that it's mainly all battery. Now this uses a CR2320, so 3-volt lithium. It's Renata and yeah, Swiss made. And the module is in there, and on this edge here, this is like a rubber sleeve that the module sits in. So this is all part of the shock resistant. And then it has a really thick gasket that goes on the outside there as well. I did take this one out, but it was a fiddly job trying to get it back in, so I don't really particularly want to repeat it, because it is sort of hair pulling out moments, so you have to get it really in perfect and absolutely symmetrical as you slide it down. But I thought I'd just share that anyway, so you can get a good idea of what to expect. And getting excited, knocking the tripod. It's made in CASIO, no jewels obviously, it's unadjusted because it's quartz, Japan, and then it's telling you that the plus side is upright. So there you go, that's what you need to look for. There's also a little gasket that is on the battery as well. Forgot to mention that, because it's very thin indeed, and that was in sort of, it wasn't in brilliant condition, but I managed to get it all back in there, and it's all sealing the battery, so I guess that's more protection. I just want to compare the DW-5000 to the 5400 because they do use the same bezel and they do have the same appearance, but look at the way the display is different. As you see, you've got the shock resist at the bottom and that's at the top. Lithium is also at the bottom, there it's on the top, and Japan's in the same place. But just to give you an idea, and also this part here is in silver, whereas this one is the gold version. And also you can see the module is a little bit different, like I've just explained before, so you know what to look for. Early modules, day is always on the left. Later module, it's on the box side, so don't forget that, because you can overlook it and end up getting the right watch but with the wrong module. Now I've shown you all the G-Shocks and gone through some of the modules and the design and so forth, there is a side that I haven't spoken about, and that is what do you actually get from a vintage G-Shock. Now if you're after the functions of ABC and sensors and you want all the solar power and multiband 6, then this isn't for you. But if you want to relive what it was like back in the early 80s, then these G-Shocks give you that, especially the 5000, the 5200 and the 5600. I must say they really do take you back to your youth and to how it must have felt like when these G-Shocks were first announced. There's something very, very special indeed, and it's something I can't explain. It has to be lived. That's all I can say. Now if you're into the more modern G-Shocks and haven't experienced a early G-Shock, maybe you should, and really enjoy that moment. It really does make you lightheaded and actually puts a tear in your eye. I really do enjoy G-Shocks, as you know from my channel. I am really passionate about them, and I will be keeping a few of these. Some of them will be flipped, and to give you more content on my channel, as to say. Let's just say I have enjoyed each on one of these watches. The 5000 is something I will keep, and the 5900 is something very special with that module and all the animation that it can do. It's got so many twerks. It does keep me entertained. Anyway, that is the times, and I'm not sure I can pick all these up and throw them down, but I'll tell you what, I will give it a go. Thanks for watching.